Some of you expressed concern about the length of these videos. For your convenience, check out the table of contents on the right-hand side. Feel free to start at the beginning and work your way through the video for some awesome in-depth insights. But if you see what you came for, or just want to see something over that you didn't catch the first time, please feel free. And as always, guys, thanks for tuning in. Blade55555's is a writer for Team Liquid who recently published an overview, a guide of all the different Zerg matchups. This entire guide is free to read and definitely worth an hour of your time. The link is in the bottom description bar. Blade isn't just a medial Moogle, though. Most recently taking runner-up to Revival in the North American Zotac Cup, we'll be taking a look at his devastating Zerg vs. Zerg style. Now, Blade himself will admit that the opener is not really that important. You can open however you're comfortable with, but for the basis of this style, we're just going to go ahead and cover the opener real quick. He really likes this fast hatch style, which I've kind of always been a little bit nervous about. Seems like it would be a little bit vulnerable to like a 10 pull or something, but Blade completely covers how to hold a 10 pull using his opener in the guide, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. Obviously, you know, he feels very comfortable with it, so that's good enough for me. Now, we do have this going to be a 15 hatch that he's starting, and you can see his opponent also going 15 hatch, but he does 15 hatch, then 16 pull. And this is a really economic style. He follows it up by replacing that drone and then goes immediately into an Overlord, followed by a 17 gas. But this is a very economic style. He's still getting the gas to be safe, but he's getting it after the Overlord, which allows him to squeeze out a couple extra drones in comparison to his opponent. If his opponent goes for, say, a gas before pull build. So again, I really like this. It seems very economic. He does never stops mining from this gas, actually. He's going to go straight into metabolic boost, followed by a Baneling nest as soon as he's banked up 50 gas after boost. So really strong opener here. Now, he does like to get these queens out as soon as he possibly can. These seem to be very defensive, and as soon as the first queen pops, he likes to go ahead and get 2 scouting lings. He'll usually poke these up the ramp, maybe try to get into the main if he can, but mostly, keeps them alive for scouting. Then, here in just a moment, he's going to make 2 more lings now that he's got this Baneling nest started. He'll park these on the ramp, using them defensively, first to cover the ramp, and ultimately turn them into Banelings. That'll keep him safe against any kind of Baneling timing his opponent may try, which, remember, Speedling rushes used to be very popular when this style came out. Now, I'm sorry, versus hatch first. If your opponent goes hatch first, Speedling's very popular. Now, we do have the Spine Crawler coming at the natural ramp. This is super important. It's very much about staying alive. We're about to transition out of the opener into what I call layer tech stage, which is very defensive. He's going to just try to stay alive as he gets the layer up, that sort of thing. He's gonna wait on taking a third. Sometimes, you know, you'll see players take an earlier third around like 8-9 minutes or so. Well, he's gonna delay that just a little bit till he can get the spire started, and then finally get the third. The spire is more important to him. So now that he's got this spine crawler at his natural ramp, he's gonna go ahead and produce. He's got those 2 lings that are gonna be coming out. Boom, right there, and finally, you know, he will morph those into Banelings. Now, you can check it out. He's got pretty good scouting information here on his opponent. He sees that his opponent's continuing to mine gas, that his opponent's going to have metabolic boost on the way, and that his opponent's metabolic boost is, in fact, going to be ahead of his own. Now, the reason this is huge scouting information is that he knows he cannot be aggressive. If he moves out with lings, and his opponent gets Speedling before him, he's just sacrificed those lings. So what he's going to want to do, knowing that his opponent went hatch first and is continuing to mine gas, he's going to want to make a few extra defenses. Now, this next portion, moving on from about 6 minutes onwards, he's going to make some very specific decisions reacting to what his opponent's doing, including making 12 lings and some additional ones past that. That would be optional. I would not say always make these. However, you know, in this situation, scouting what he sees here, he's going to want to be super defensive just to stay alive because he knows economically he's going to be ahead. Now, just want to point out, he has got a pretty good Overlord spread. He can see if his opponent ever moves out. He can see, he can kind of poke in here to see how many drones are mining here. So he's actually doing that just now, and he sees that there's not really a lot of mining going on, especially in comparison to his own base. So yeah, he's feeling very, very scared right now. Hence, there's the 12 lings, 2 Banelings. He usually makes those 2 Banelings on the ramp, so I wouldn't say that's a reaction, but they're definitely going to help considering what he's scouting here. Now, we have a second spine crawler building here, and this is going to help cover this drone line. He's got these 2 Banelings here covering this area, so if his opponent tries to, you know, send his lings in like this, these will cover it. This right here are going to cut off a short cut to the hatchery, so there's no kind of walking around that hatchery. By the way, this is an extra Baneling. The reason we're counting Banelings here is because this is a very gas-starved style that Blade is using. So every expenditure of gas does ultimately set him back. However, he needs this 3rd Baneling just in case, because he does know his opponent's attacking him. He can actually see it with his amazing Overlord spread. Like, I mean, there's really nowhere his opponent's going to be able to come in at this ramp without him scouting it. But, you know, he's got the Banelings, he's getting a second spine crawler, you know, he's doing everything he can to hold this, and if he holds this, he knows he'll be ahead. Take a look. TKS Jig is actually 4 workers ahead right now. However, Blade is economically worlds and worlds ahead because he was able to get he's going to spend his gas on more efficient things rather than Banelings. He's going straight for the Spire. So, alright, and there we go. So we've got the little poke up here on the ramp. He sees the Banelings. He knows he's not going to be able to engage this. He's going to try and set one off, but failing that, you know, he's going to try and, you know, make some Banelings, but ultimately he's going to head on home, and in fact, Blade's able to see this and immediately queues up some extra drones. Alright, so here at about 6.5 minutes, we have the tech advantage that we were talking about with Blade. Take a look at his opponent real quick. Let's switch over to his camera. His opponent has 1 gas, 2 gas. He's mining from a lot of minerals and, you know, doing okay there. Blade, on the other hand, is taking his 3rd and 4th gas and about to go full out Spire mode. So he's already got a good, strong defensive posture, which he's going to want for that Spire. And neither player has 3rds. So Blade, you know, locked in here at roughly 10 drones behind his opponent right now, despite his opponent's aggression, is completely alive. And because he's going for the tech, he'll be able to gain advantages in the mid game. He is sacrificing his economy right now just to stay alive, and it will pay dividends here shortly. So we're roughly close to the 8-minute mark now, and we actually have +1 missile attacks being researched for Jig, the opponent of Blade here, which, you know, is gas expenditure. We're going to really be paying close attention to that. We also have a 3rd on the way for Jig. No 3rd here for Blade. Now, again, people may look at this and say, well, Blade's behind. Well, he doesn't have a 3rd, that's true. He's ahead as far as workers, though. That's because in his defensive posture, he was able to drone knowing he was safe, whereas his opponents had to continue making units, especially to defend this third. So he's not going to really be able to make efficient use of the third. Ultimately, the two thirds will time themselves out, but for the moment, Blade's economically ahead, where Jig is establishing a third. So, we now have the third being scouted by Blade, so he knows this is a pretty common timing for that third, and he's ready for it. So he's now going to escort his own drone here to his own third. His opponent obviously going to send in some lings to try to contest this. Nice little micro wars here from both players. Phone goes off, ignore that. And the third does go down for Blade. So, we've still got this great defensive posture here at the natural, so he can park the lings here at the third's ramp, no problem. He's even going to send some of these lings out forward, keeping the Banelings there to defend. Overseer here does get some scouting off, but that's okay as well. Now with the lings of Blade, going to come right on here into the third. But, Banelings make short work of those. And, yeah, he's going to continue to try to apply pressure, which is, very, very standard. He wants to do this, but seeing the roaches, he knows he's not going to be able to do the third. So these are ultimately going to be scouting lings. He was using them for harassment, but now he wants to know what kind of tech his opponent's going to go for. Not the best control here. He could surround this queen, but ultimately will get the kill there. So this attack completely pays for itself in that regard. Some lings getting engaged here with the roaches. No harm, no foul, really. But yeah, let's take a look here. This spire nearly finished. The spire was basically begun as soon as the layer finished. That was 86 seconds ago, which roughly makes it about 8.5 minutes. 8:15 maybe. But we've been very, very safe to set this up. We've got a third coming as well. And all Blade really wants to do now is just defend his third and get upgrades up. As soon as he can establish his third, get some static defense there, and get his upgrade started, he will start using the Mutalisks and Lings to take map presence, harass his opponent, clear out overlords, and just generally dominate the map. This will give him a ton of advantages. Especially in the sense that he can contain his opponent from taking too many bases. He can mass expand himself, and all he's really got to worry about are 3 branches that his opponent could take. His opponent could do a big Roach Hydra timing attack, like 200 max, that can be quite devastating against this style if not handled properly. That's usually the best and strongest response. However, some players do choose to switch into Swarm Hosts against what Blade is going to do, which ultimately does not work as well as you would think, seeing as Blade will already have the Swarm Hosts and have more bases. It's just going to be really, really hard to contest someone who's already economically superior if you're both making the same units. And the third option would be to build a Spire and switch into Mutalisks of their own, which again doesn't work because Blade is already ahead on upgrades and has been banking gas. Ultimately, excuse me, not only is he going to be ahead on upgrades, but he's going to get Ultralisks, and the Ultralisk comes so quickly that if your opponent reacts to your Spire by building a Spire of his own, by the time he can have Mutalisks up in a devastating amount of numbers, you'll already have your Ultralisks. So it really, there's really no strong response to this except the Roach Hydra timing. So that's what we're going to focus our attention on here. Okay, so this next section is called Upgrades and Harassment for very good reason. While the Spire is just about to finish here for Blade, he actually will focus more on upgrades. You can see the +1 attack coming out now. He does go ahead and get 8 Mutalisks, but he's still got a lot of gas. Here's the 10 Mutalisks coming now. But After this, he's going to go straight into Baneling speed. He's got the 2 evolution chambers coming now. And he's going to start focusing a lot on upgrades. That's going to be +1 Carapace, +1 melee. But then he only upgrades Carapace from that point on. As I mentioned earlier, this is a very gas-starved style. So what he does is limits the gas expenditure in the form of melee attack upgrades. Ultras do mad amounts of damage without upgrades, so getting the Carapace and getting the Ultralisk sooner is better. You can always get the upgrades later. Now, we do have Blade holding off this nice little attack here. Roaches trying to do some damage as this third finishes. As soon as your third kind of finishes, anticipate an attack like this, and go ahead and send your Mutalisks and Lings here to intercept and deal with it. You also want to get these 5th and 6th gas up as soon as possible, as again, this style is completely gas starved, so you'll want these as soon as possible. In fact, I'd say these 2 gases are far more important than minerals, so just bear that in the back of your mind. Definitely continue to make Lings. This is not the proper time to drone. You really want to stay alive. Once you've defended this attack, you can pump out a couple of drones, but you really want to be focusing more on harassment and upgrades. So that's why you're getting the 2 evolution chambers at 10-15, and then you know, your +1 melee, +1 Carapace on the way as well. Again, just all about trying to stay alive and getting the proper tech. So we've got the Overseer now on the way. This will be allowed to, you know, poke into the opponent base, see what tech they're going, and see what our responses should be. Because we know the 3 possible responses, but just determining which one it's going to be. We're looking for a Hydra Den, an Infestation Pit, or a Spire. And, you know, we'll send changelings in to see if we can get that information. Or the Mutalisks or anything like that. Right now, you know, the Overseer is just parked. We don't want to risk it just yet. But going ahead, clearing off our opponent's Overseers and Overlords, so that we're the only ones rocking the map right now. So once you've got about 10 mutas up, you want to start your Infestation Pit. You can see that finishing now. That's, generally speaking, again, around 10 mutas. And then you'll go ahead and get your Locust upgrades there as well. And once you've got the +1 melee attack, +1 Carapace, centrifugal hooks or Baneling speed, and you've got your Locusts upgrade, that's when you know you're kind of set. So how do you know? First of all, let's cover, you know, how many mutas do you make? We've had 10 mutas made this game. You can see 9 that are currently alive. So 10 Mutalisks made all game. 1 of them have died. But this was basically the amount of gas he had banked when the Spire finished, minus the +1 flying attack. At that point, he stopped Mutalisk production in order to get massive amounts of upgrades. Now he's getting the Locust upgrades rather, and he'll start making Swarm Hosts. He'll get 12 to 16 Swarm Hosts, and then he'll switch to Ultralisks or start pumping out more mutas depending on what he sees. However, Ultralisks are eventually going to be the goal, and only then will he really start to focus on switching between Ling Ultra, a complete ground army base, and MutaLing, which, you know, is versatile. So by switching between the 2, you know, doing constant tech switches, he can keep his opponent off their toes. But the Swarm Hosts are a defensive measure. He does not use these offensively. It is a defensive measure to help him hold that great big timing attack that he knows is coming because he got Mutalisks. If you go Mutalisks and your opponent's making Roaches, 9 times out of 10, you're facing this Roach Hydra push. That's what the Swarm Hosts are about. So as you'll notice, it's about 13 minutes into the game. There's still no 4th taken for Blade. He is not worried about economy. He is worried about staying alive. You can see Overlord dropping some creep here. We've got 3 Spine Crawlers in production. This is already anticipating Swarm Hosts. Park the Swarm Hosts here. Opponent engages this, can't really get on top of Swarm Host because of these. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You can obviously, see what he's trying to work on here. Now we do have the Mutalisks about to swarm in here. He just wants to see, are there Spore Crawlers up? If they are, can I contest them? If I can't, alright, well I force him to make Spore Crawlers. I'm going to go home. Ultimately, he's not trying to win with Mutalisks. So just forcing the reaction is enough for him. His opponent will always and forever be scared of Mutalisks for the rest of this game. So every other base that he takes, he's going to have to pump out a bunch of Spore Crawlers at. So the damage to your opponent's mind alone is valuable. Now, you do want to keep your Swarm Hosts in a defensive position. You want to stay mobile with all your other units poking undefended positions and trying to catch your opponent's flanks. If you can at all ever see your opponent move out, then poke it. That's all you're going to have to try to do here. However, avoid bunching your army. You never, ever, ever want all your army swarming in from the same angle. As you can see, he's got his Lings, Banelings. If they were to come and attack an army that was parked here, they're going to come from here. Mutalisks are going to come from here. One fungal will not wipe everything out. So at least he's got, two angles. More would be even better, but right now he's not so worried about infestors. It's going to take a little while to get those up. He does, however, have his hive started. Been started for 19 seconds. He started that, 13:28? So, he's already switching into Ultralisk ultimately. But, he's got the +2 Carapace. It's going to be coming up as soon as he finishes Ground Carapace level 1. He's got Swarm Hosts on the way. And in general, he's completely gas-starved on 3 bases, but he's got a huge tech lead. And if he can use that to stay alive, use that to eventually take more bases, he's in a winning posture. So at this point, we're basically just waiting for the Roach Hydra army of Jig to move out. We've got some poking going on with the Mutalisks. He wants to just see it. And here we go. We have the Roach Hydra coming out. Overlord's in great positions to intersect that. And here are the Swarm Hosts going to go ahead and park there on the ramp. They've got that creep spread with Spine Crawlers there to do wonders for them. Swarm Hosts going to engage right in front of that, trying to just posture. Win with free units. Why not? Now, you'll notice that he is going to try to hit from a bunch of different angles here. He's going to have Banelings come in from one side, Mutalisks come in from another, Speedlings come in from a third, and the Swarm Host engaging from a fourth. He will do amazing work here with flanks, and that is what we really want to pay attention to. So here's the engagement. Swarm Host going ahead and just buffering. The Roach Hydra is actually trying to get closer to the Swarm Host so they can just snipe those. Not really going to work, so he's going to go ahead and converge. Ling Baneling coming in from one angle. Here's the second angle. Boom! Connecting immediately with some Hydras. That's exactly what you want to hit the Banelings with. Swarm Host doing a great job now against the Roaches. Roaches getting cleaned up here by Mutalisks. There's not really enough Hydralisks here to deal with the Mutalisks, so he's forced to run home. Oh, he tries to get some Mutalisk kills, but the blue player does realize, the Mutalisks do outnumber the Hydralisks quite a bit there, and proceeds to get a victory. Now we do have a 4th base was trying to be taken here by Jig. We should have Blade responding to this with some mobile forces. That is the MutaLing here in just a moment. And here's the Roaches of Jig going ahead and going to target that down. But Roaches don't do so hot against Mutalisks, which are coming in. Hydralisk going to reinforce here as well, though, so let's see what ends up happening. Now, all the while, still no 4th here. Oh, finally getting a 4th for Blade. And guys, just for the record, the Ultralisk Cavern was laid at 15:15. We have 3 Ultralisks on the way with chitinous plating. I don't believe we have +3 Carapace yet. No, we don't. But yeah, still some very, very strong upgrades here for Blade. and this fourth is very, very hard to hold for Jig, simply due to free units coming out of Blade Swarmhouse. The Ultralisk gonna eventually be coming out. It's hard to deal with Ultralisk with Roach Hydra. You really need something like Infestors to deal with everything that comes with the Ultralisk, the Speedlings, for instance. So he's going to be relying on some key fungals, which is why Pathogen Glands and Infestors are on the way. But he's going to go ahead and throw some Roaches at his opponent. This is some supply. He's probably just trying to free up a little bit, but doesn't really trade cost efficiently. Lings, really the only thing he's getting killed here, mostly just losing units to the Swarmhouse. And as you can see, the Swarmhouse, finally with the Ultralisk coming out, going to be coming in to get some offensive position going on, and ultimately, this battle inching here ever forward to this 5th and 4th base of Jig. But 4th just now established for Blade, playing this from behind economically, but still the technology really give him a huge advantage. I like how he's burrowing long enough to have some locust spawn and then just unburrowing, keeping his Swarmhouse mobile. So here at 1930, we have pathogen glands being researched now for Blade. This is going to give him the opportunity to... sorry, we've got this battle going on here. I thought it was about to engage. This will give him the ability to lock his opponent into place and not be able to kite the Ultralisks, or the Baneling. So he's just going to be in a great posture there. Right now he's keeping the Ultralisk with as many Lings at the 3rd to prevent run-bys. But these Roaches do go ahead and sneak by. Here's an Ultralisk coming. He should keep this Ultralisk parked here with some Speedlings from this point onward. But, opening up some vulnerabilities as he attacks forward. There we go. And this is just a good way to defend your bases from these small Roach counterattacks. So leave a handful, 8lings and Ultralisk there. Spree units going ahead, really destroying the larva there of Jig. And Baneling's rolling in against some Hydralisks. Ultralisk gonna make it almost impossible for Hydras to engage. But it's just complete domination here by Blade now that he's got such a huge upgrade and technology advantage. He's able to mass expand now, while he's just containing his opponent on a few bases. Yeah, GG. So this was the most common response to Swarm Hosts. It's a 200-200 Roach Hydra push, and you can beat it with just a couple of small things. You use defensive Swarm Host positioning. The way he was just spewing creep out of this one Overlord for these 3 Spine Crawlers here in position. Beautiful idea. You could have used your own creep, but hey, why not use an Overlord if you don't have that creep moved out? He keeps his Lings and Blings always spread. His opponent, could use Pathogen Glands, but, it's hard to Pathogen Glands units coming from here, units coming from here, units coming from here, and units coming from here. That's just a lot of area to cover with fungal growth. So by keeping his army split, he was able to limit that. And he always engaged on home territory. This was a very defensive style. He waited until his opponent broke his own army against Blade's defensive posture, and only then did he end up moving out, when he already was able to use his defensive position to get a huge technology lead. Then was very content to use the technology lead to get an economic lead. He did not force engagements, he just starved his opponent out. Well, if your opponent does try to transition to Mutalisk, you'll have more Muta sooner. You have Muta upgrades. This is a gambit that should never work. So you can pretty much mark that response out. It's not really something you should worry about. If you do find yourself dying to it, just make more Mutalisks and get yourself to Ultralisks. If your opponent transitions to Swarm Hosts, well, you already have more Swarm Hosts. You have them earlier. You can mass expand because it's going to take them a while to produce them, and just contain your opponent. Don't let them move out. Don't let them get close enough to park the Swarm Hosts in order to do the damage. Really the only time you get to be aggressive with swarm hosts early in the game is if your opponent does try to go swarm hosts of his own, and then why not? And you just tech to hive even quicker, and you get the Ultraling Bling combo, switch into Muta support, and ultimately just kill him with a better economy. Well guys, this is Shaft of the Planning Casting Crew. I'm glad you tuned in. If you like this episode, want to see more, please give us a like. Share it with your friends. If you want to suggest ideas for the comments, give us a tweet on Twitter. I'm at the only Shaft. I check it each and every day. So give me a follow, give me a shout out, give me a comment, give me a like, whatever. Just give me something. No, I'm just kidding, guys. Either way, it is the Christmas spirit, so keep that in mind. Anyways, Shaft signing out. Bye bye.